we appeared to have all this money, or we appeared to be rich. We appeared, you were in the business.
It's painful. It is painful.
Many boys are abused.
And how that screws us.
That happens.
How that screws us up. Because my whole perspective on sex and women,
yeah,
with what I experienced at a young age and never talked about it, like that was one of the things I had with my dad. Like, if you would have talked to me about some stuff.
Blake Lively is rapidly losing control as Justin Baldoni's family, especially his father, Sam Baldoni, steps in with full force to dismantle her claims and shut her narrative down.
Done as a father was whatever I could to help you. So I didn't want ever anybody to think that I've done anything to help you.
Sam Baldoni isn't just standing by his son's side. He's making sure the world sees exactly who's wearing the villain's mask in this high-profile showdown. Blake Lively isn't only facing Justin anymore. She's now going head-to-head with his entire family, and they're showing no mercy. What began as a messy legal spat between her and Justin Baldoni has exploded into an all-out war. Justin's family has entered the ring swinging hard, tearing into her without hesitation or filters. If Lively thought she could manipulate her way out of this mess, she seriously miscalculated, because the Baldoni family is not the type to sit back quietly. Sam Baldoni, having watched his son suffer at her hands for far too long, is now determined to make the truth loud and clear. This is no typical celebrity feud. It's a Hollywood war zone, with major studios, media outlets, and A-list stars choosing sides. The battle is vicious, and Lively is slipping fast. It all escalated when Sam had enough of her so-called victim routine and took action to reveal what's really been happening. Rather than giving over-the-top statements or teary interviews, he went for a seasoned, subtle strike, dropping a sharp TikTok video that featured a bulletin board full of glowing praise for Justin, painting him as compassionate, humble, and supportive. But the real dagger was the caption. In a world full of Blakes and Ryans, be a Justin. I love you too, Daddy. The internet erupted instantly. Without naming names, everyone knew exactly who the post targeted. The clip went viral, racking up millions of views, thousands of comments, and a surge of support for Team Baldoni. Meanwhile, Blake's "I'm the victim" act crumbled, her credibility vanishing as Ryan Reynolds and she fumed in silence behind the scenes. Every time she tried to play the sympathy card, it backfired, making her look worse. The Baldoni family appeared untouchable, united, confident, and unbothered. Just when Blake thought she might catch her breath, the Hollywood Reporter hit her harder than ever. Their February 21st cover didn't just shade her, it obliterated her image with a cartoon showing her firing a phone at Justin via slingshot, a direct mockery of her desperation to subpoena his text messages. When a major Hollywood magazine, one that usually protects A-listers, decides to roast you, it means the industry has turned. Blake lost it, accusing them of sexism and belittling harassment claims, but nobody cared. The public loved the cover. It went viral and turned her into a joke. The fact that such a respected publication mocked her lawsuit meant Hollywood was done shielding her. Her PR team scrambled with statements calling the cover insulting, but the damage was done. Hollywood wasn't silencing her, it was exposing her, showing the legal circus for what it was, a sloppy PR stunt gone wrong. Justin didn't even need to respond. The Baldoni family let the media do the dragging. The cover marked a turning point. Before it, Blake controlled the narrative, but afterward, her fearless warrior image crumbled. And with industry giants now backing away, one thing is clear. Blake Lively is losing badly.
Every single thing that she's claimed against him has been disproved.
So he was a class act throughout the entire process.
Meanwhile, the Baldoni family sat back, watching the chaos unfold and doing absolutely nothing, because at this point, they didn't have to. Sam Baldoni had already made his point with that savage social media post, setting the narrative in motion, and now the media and public were doing the rest for him. Blake Lively thought she could turn this into a battle of reputations, banking on a carefully orchestrated smear campaign to destroy Justin B.'s career. Instead, her own reputation was in the gutter. Hollywood was mocking her. The media had turned against her. Her PR team was scrambling and failing to control the damage, while the Baldoni family remained untouched, thriving, and watching her self-destruct in real time. By now, Lively was being dragged so hard that even her own PR team couldn't keep up, with every attempt at damage control flopping spectacularly. The best part? She had no one to blame but herself. The internet is ruthless, and once people sniff out hypocrisy, they dig deep, and they found plenty. Old interviews resurfaced, reminding everyone that Blake Lively had been a walking red flag for years. She wasn't a Hollywood darling at all. She was a mean girl, controlling projects and pushing people out of the spotlight when they didn't fit her personal agenda. One director even hinted that certain actresses loved to rewrite scripts behind the scenes, and people instantly connected the dots. The narrative flipped. Lively wasn't an innocent victim silenced by evil men. She was a privileged actress who conveniently played the victim whenever things didn't go her way. When she realized her credibility was crumbling, she panicked, scrambling to pin the blame on Justin Baldoni, tossing around terms like smear campaign, in a desperate attempt to sell the idea of a grand conspiracy against her. But nobody was buying it. The damage was already done, and for the first time, Blake Lively had to face real consequences. No deleting tweets, no brushing it under the rug, no escaping. And just when it seemed this PR nightmare couldn't get worse, Justin's team dropped the receipts. Not just any receipts, but career-ending, cold, hard text messages that exposed every single lie she'd told, including her most damning claim, that Justin Baldoni had walked in on her while she was breastfeeding, making him sound like some kind of creep violating her privacy.
Shortly into production, Blake Lively is very dissatisfied with virtually everything around her, is like this virulent sexual harasser who can't stop harassing one of the biggest stars in Hollywood in front of everybody on the set. I've got questions. I'm not sure why he...
The internet was outraged until Baldoni released the actual texts. And guess what they said? Hey, I'm breastfeeding right now, but come into my trailer. Let's run lines. In other words, she had invited him in after telling the world he was some predator barging into her personal space. The moment this text hit the internet, Blake Lively's entire case collapsed. Even people who had been defending her began switching sides, because if she was willing to lie about that, what else had she been lying about? But the biggest slap in the face was that Justin Baldoni wasn't even allowed to attend his own movie premiere. Yes, you read that right. This wasn't just petty Hollywood drama anymore. This was Hollywood at its most toxic. Reports confirmed that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were calling the shots, and they made sure Baldoni and his entire family were banished from the event. Think about it. Baldoni produced, directed, and starred in this movie, his own work, yet because Blake Lively didn't like him, she wielded so much control over the event that he wasn't even allowed in the same room. And if you're wondering why Sam Baldoni stepped into the mess in the first place, this was likely the reason. Imagine watching your son's entire career get hijacked by a woman who is blatantly lying, while nobody in Hollywood had the courage to stand up for him. Sam had every right to go nuclear on social media, because at this point, this wasn't just a legal battle, it was a power move. Lively and Reynolds were making it loud and clear that they controlled Hollywood, and Baldoni was finished. Except he wasn't, because this backfired spectacularly.
Insulted Blake Lively, blast sexist. The Hollywood Reporter cover lampooning her Justin Baldoni lawsuit. Should be ashamed of yourself.
After the Hollywood Reporter dragged Lively through the mud, people began opening their eyes. The internet saw that Lively had been caught in multiple lies, and the media was turning against her. Her victim act was no longer convincing anyone. Then came the premiere disaster, which only worsened her image. Instead of appearing as a brave survivor standing up to injustice, she now looked like a Hollywood bully using her influence to silence people. To make matters worse, Baldoni's supporters weren't letting the issue fade. They ensured the world knew exactly what had happened. Social media posts from Baldoni's circle validated Justin's leaked text messages, leaving Blake Lively absolutely humiliated. The best part for Baldoni? He didn't even have to lift a finger. The Baldoni family simply sat back, watched, and let Hollywood itself tear Blake apart. This was supposed to be her moment. She thought she could cancel Justin Baldoni, play the hero, and walk away untouched. Instead, her lies came back to haunt her, and the very people she aimed to take down didn't even have to fight. Lively wanted a battle, but she wasn't ready for a family that actually fights back. She seemed to think she was some kind of mastermind who could waltz into Hollywood's biggest legal war, play the victim, and have the entire industry bow at her feet. But this isn't a movie, and she's not the heroine. In fact, she's the villain everyone's rooting against. Just when it seemed her delusions couldn't get worse, leaked messages revealed she compared herself to Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, calling Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift her dragons. The secondhand embarrassment was intense, claiming, "I have dragons just like Dany, I have Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift." She presented herself as though living in a medieval fantasy, where she was an all-powerful queen leading an army into battle. Yet her so-called dragons weren't breathing fire for her. While she boasted about her imaginary army, reality was far less impressive. Rumors began swirling that Taylor Swift wanted nothing to do with the mess. And honestly, who could blame her? Taylor is a PR genius who avoids being dragged into scandals, especially ones irrelevant to her. Lively likely assumed that Swift's billion-dollar empire and massive fanbase would shield her from backlash, but Taylor wasn't about to get burned. Instead of defending Blake, Swift reportedly distanced herself, and the internet noticed. If Taylor had truly been backing Lively, she would have made it crystal clear. She wouldn't have stayed silent while her so-called best friend was publicly torn apart. Taylor knows the power of her words, and she didn't use them because she wasn't willing to go down with Blake's sinking ship. Swift understood that standing by Lively was a bad business move, as Hollywood was turning against her. The media was mocking her, and her legal case was collapsing. Blake had become the definition of radioactive. Ryan Reynolds, on the other hand, couldn't easily distance himself since he's married to her, but even he wasn't exactly fighting for her honor. He wasn't publicly calling out the media or defending her with passion. Instead, he stayed quiet, knowing Hollywood is bigger than his marriage and unwilling to burn industry bridges for someone losing credibility by the day. That's the tragedy for Lively. She believed she was untouchable, counting on the protection of Hollywood's biggest pop star and one of its most bankable actors. But when things turned ugly, one ghosted her, and the other stayed silent. If that's not a fall from grace, what is? Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni was thriving, the great irony being that Lively's attempt to destroy him only made him a household name. He went from that guy from Jane the Virgin to one of Hollywood's most talked-about figures, with interview requests pouring in and industry insiders rallying behind him. People who hadn't known his name before the lawsuit were now paying attention. Lively, in contrast, faced not only online backlash, but also Hollywood's cold shoulder, with rumors that major studios were hesitant to cast her. Hollywood cares about marketability, not morality, and Lively's value was plummeting. She was becoming a liability, not an asset. Even SAG-AFTRA, which initially seemed supportive, went silent after her credibility crumbled. Hollywood doesn't protect you once you're no longer useful, a harsh lesson Lively was learning. Insiders predicted this case could ruin her career, and they might be right. The media was mocking her, colleagues were distancing themselves, and every attempt to control the narrative backfired. Baldoni supporters, meanwhile, weren't backing down. His family stood by him, his legal team held firm, and his fans pushed harder than ever. They made sure the public saw the real story, leaving Lively to pay the price. She had spent weeks playing the victim, convinced she could twist the story to her advantage, but the Baldoni family's resolve left her Hollywood standing in shambles. She wanted to be the woman who took down a man in power, but instead became the woman nobody wanted to work with. She tried to destroy Baldoni's career, but his star rose while hers faded. Worst of all, she had no one to blame but herself. This was no longer a celebrity feud. It was a full-blown Hollywood downfall, and Blake Lively was collapsing under the weight of it.